Welcome to tonight's Wednesday night cold as hell edition in Cincinnati, Ohio of the Klown podcast. It's in the single digits, folks. It's cold as hell. But I'm Scott Burks. My co-host Duane Nash. Check him out on the yards at HBCU Sports. You see on the backdrop, wrestle all things HBCU Sports, as well as Sleazy Radio every Tuesday on Facebook Live. Check him, the coach, and Sweet Lou out. You'd be glad you did. And last but not least, he writes for HeroSports.com. We wrestle all things FCS athletics as it pertains to HBCUs. As for me, I just, this is my blog here at the Klown Times. You find me at www.theclowntimes.net. I've made a post for the first time in like almost a month. And we're going to talk about why in a minute, because it's something that drove me to really put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, if you will. And it's just so egregious. We'll get to all that shit anyway. But anyway, you can find me on Facebook as well. So we on your smartphone, desktop, laptop, wherever it may be, just type in the Klown Times search window. You can find me there as well. Also, speaking of which, speaking of this hat, get the merch.
Get that merch.
CafePress.com, search for the Klown Times Sports. You find it there as well. You find the link in the description when I upload this probably to YouTube tomorrow, as well as the links to Duane's websites as well. We've been doing that every week for a while, so people will be getting there. So thank y'all. And speaking of which, please see the like, comment, share, and subscribe. We've been getting some love this week, mainly from the HBCU talk. Also, it's bullshit that's happened with the concern of the Baseball Hall of Fame, which we'll get to. So people agree with that bullshit. So anyway, before we get started, our man is back in the house. As you notice, some team from the AFC North is in the AFC title game. Not only did they win their first playoff game period of 31 years against the Raiders, they won their first road playoff game ever against the Tennessee Titans last week. So he's here to continue to talk his well-deserved shit. This is my man, my frat brother, my ace, my LB. Andre Edwards is back in the hizzy. What's up?
What's going on, fellas? What's going on?
Before you go ahead and start gloating real quick, Dre, I have to let it be known on Sleazy Sports every year we do our predictions preseason and actually postseason on how the postseason is going to break out. And of course, we talked about the postseason after the final week of the season. We made our predictions. Now my NFC is horrible. Thank you. Well, that's what I get for relying on Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
But my AFC title game is completely intact because Nostradamus picked the Bengals to beat the Tennessee Titans. In a situation
for a reason.
when I did it, I'm not gonna lie to you though, Dre. I didn't have a reason other than why not, right? Because, well, one, I didn't want to get chalky and just say, 1-2s on both sides going to make it, because we know that doesn't happen every year, right? And when it does, it's normally an anomaly. And I'm thinking, okay, of all the teams where it can happen to, Buffalo has a chance, but why not Cincinnati? Ryan Tannehill, we don't know which one of those we're going to get. We're going to either get the Tennessee Tannehill or the Miami Tannehill, and we got the Miami one.
Yeah, Miami Tannehill.
And then, with Derrick Henry, there were a lot of people, of course, who was expecting old school. It's going to be a minute. Stiff arm you in your head all day, Derrick Henry coming out there and running over that Bengals defense. And I'm thinking to myself, does that have to happen?
Like,
what?
Let's be very clear. Derrick Henry is a monster, and I've got nothing but respect for him. Like, he is a monster. He also took off 3 months, not of his own volition, but he was out of contact for 3 months, right? And I don't care how much contact you take in practice, it's not the same as another man getting paid to take your head off on the other side of the field. Like, it's just not the same. We're teammates. I'm gonna try and give you a little something so you get a little bit of a feel for it, but it's not the same as, a linebacker coming downhill trying to stop you from making a 4th and 1. It just isn't.
Right.
So I was concerned for him about his positioning and about what his impact would be, regardless of what the talking head said. We're still talking 3 months. We're still talking no contact. And quite frankly, we're still talking a dude who's walking around with a steel plate in his foot, right?
Right.
So while he may be able to run straight forward, north and south, what's his lateral movement like? If he has to make a cut in the backfield, can he do it? I think if you go back and watch that tape, it was pretty clear he couldn't. You know, you go back and watch the 2-point conversion, they hit him head up, straight up. You go back and watch the 4th down attempt after Ryan Tannehill.
I got comments on that later on. Yeah.
Whatever Ryan Tannehill was trying to do on 3rd down.
Right.
But, you know, like, he looked like he was tripping through daisies, man. And I'm like, he's just not the same dude. And I'm not saying he won't be the man come next year, but for this game, he just didn't have it. And as much as people thought the Titans were just going to come in and bully the Bengals, I mean, one, we play in the AFC North, so it's not like we don't play tough ball, right? Two, we're the number, I think at the time, we were like the number 5 or 6 run defense in the league for the year. So, you know, it's not like, you know, we were getting ran roughshod on all season and you're just going to add Tennessee to that list. It's like, nah, man, we played the run pretty well all year. Why would you think all of a sudden a dude who hasn't played in 3 months, again, still playing this foot, is just going to run us over? Like, that made no sense to me.
Right. And I agree with that. So, but speaking of which, man, let's just get to it. Now, for those of you who don't know, who failed in geography or just don't know, Nashville is what, a 4.5-hour drive from here, south of here, right down 71 to 65. So, needless to say, watching the game, hearing the crowd's reaction to every play, it's safe to assume there was a huge contingent of Bengals fans down there.
Bruh, I'm talking unreal. We got down there Friday night. It's probably 5 or 6 of us that rolled down. We got down there Friday night. The number of hoo-days and high fives and shouts that were happening Friday night was already off the chain. Like, it was Cincinnati Bengals fans and bridal parties were the only people who were down Broadway. It was insane. Then,
so bridal parties in Nashville must be a super big thing. That's not the first time I've heard that being a thing.
Like,
wow.
That's like bachelorette parties.
Yeah,
they go to Nashville.
That
so they were probably slightly put out because it was a bunch of us running around screaming "Who they" and whatever. But so then we went to, like, there was a tailgate. So a guy named Bengals Jim, a super fan type of dude, threw like this giant tailgate party beforehand. There were thousands of Bengals fans there, and that is not an exaggeration at all. Then we all left from there and walked over to the game. There was orange and black all over the place. I mean, yes, there were way more Tennessee fans there than there were Bengals fans. That goes without saying. But with that being said, there were thousands of Bengals fans in the stands all over the place. So that little ticket thing that they try to do where
the Rams are trying to do it too next week.
Delaying your ticket and all that crap. Like, nobody cared. Nobody cared. Like, it's a 4.5-hour drive. If I get down there and I still don't have a ticket, I'm still kicking it in Nashville. And I still got my ticket. So come on, let's go. The best part, I tell y'all, the best part of the whole game was, besides winning, of course, but the best part was every time Tennessee gets a first down as a team, the whole stadium, so all the Tennessee fans go, "Who, like, all at the same time. And it's like, it's pretty cool when you got, 60,000 fans, it's a Tennessee first down. I was like, okay, cool. So my Bengals fan section, like, got all these other people around us to every time the Bengals got a first down or a touchdown, we start chanting, who, who they? Who they? Like, and all the Tennessee fans, like, initially were like, that's pretty funny. Okay, that's enough. It sucks. It was great. It was great.
So let me ask you this, man. We all know, for those of us who've been to Nashville, we all know Nashville's a party city, right? Broadway's awesome. Walking Street, big ass walking boulevard.
Yeah.
It's cool as hell. I'm thinking, man, you mentioned this the last time you're on here, man. Like this is something that, and this is not any slight, this is just stating the fact. This is repeating what you said. This is like living how it's like to live in the major city with a successful franchise.
Yes.
Which is shit's popping.
Yep.
Right? It's like after last week, after like Wild Card Weekend was one thing. To take your show on the road and do it again. Now, man, I mean, it's cold. It's too cold to be outside, so you can't really tell. But I mean, it's just like a buzz here in the city.
So a friend of mine reached out the other day. I mean, actually, was it yesterday or today? I can't remember. But his son, their school is doing some sort of like wear a jersey to school day, right? Mm-hmm. And he was like, man, I'm probably gonna have a hard time trying to find a Burrow, a Chase or a Higgins. And I was like, man, search up Dick's Sporting Goods, so you don't have to go to the store. Just make sure it's available. Pop in. I'm sure they got them. He was like, man, these jokers are sold out across the city.
Wow, yeah,
the city. And his kid is not a little kid where you're looking for a U size. His kid wears like an adult medium. So like all the adult mediums, all the adult larges in every Dick's Sporting Goods across the city gown.
Yeah.
Everybody happy, man. Hey, welcome to that world. And it's kind of funny that it's happening. And Scott, I know your father is probably enjoying today. If you didn't realize, today is the 30th anniversary of the 1991 Super Bowl team here in DC. So everyone has been lamenting about that. Yeah, and I remember that time frame where everything in the city was gone. You couldn't get anything Washington during that time frame. Hey, that's exactly what it's like. I barely remember it.
Right.
I do have a recollection. So I'm happy for you, brother, to have that, to see that enjoyment going on in your city, not just once, but twice with the Cincinnati football team, the college football team making it to the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, like it's been really fun to be a native of and or a fan of Cincinnati in general over the past year or so, right? Maybe even 2 years, because you take that back to drafting Burrow, retaining Luke Fickell when he had some pretty major overtures from some pretty major schools in Michigan State, whatever. So to know that Cincinnati is a destination and that folks want to be here and that and that the sports are taking themselves to a level of respect and prominence that you're like, I'm really proud to be from here and to wear the merch, right? I mean, y'all know I wear the merch all the time.
Anyway,
But to watch others, to walk around on these streets and watch others wearing Bengals gear is just something you just didn't see. I've been to Cleveland, whether the Browns are good, terrible, going to the Super Bowl or drafting first for the next 5 years in a row, people are Browns geared up all the time. Bengals fans, not like that. If the team isn't good, you got your diehards who still wear their stuff, but like most people don't. Right now, I don't care who you are, you're in some sort of Bengals gear.
And that's the thing. And I always tell the story about, Andre, you know this better than anybody, about a lot of the clothing stores, sports stores here in the past would not only sell Bengals gear, they'll sell Browns gear and a lot of Steelers gear.
Yep.
And, your two
Dallas Cowboys gear.
Yep, that too. You see two of your biggest division rivals, blood rivals, damn near outsell yours.
Yeah.
In your city.
Welcome to my world.
And there you go. The same in Washington, Dallas and Washington. That's facts. That's straight facts. A lot of Dallas shits in DC. But anyway, the whole thing is, I think as a Steelers fan, who's realizing that we're probably going to go back to the 80s, like go back to the future. You guys on the rise. We don't have a fucking quarterback. It's like the 80s over again, post Bradshaw, which I started watching football during that time. So I remember those painful lean years. Ooh. So I have a funny feeling we're going to go back to those pretty lean years, depending on what we do in the draft or free agency. We got to fix that goddamn retro offensive line, but that's not here nor there. But
so I am not in the business of asking questions. I'm in the business of appearing on podcasts and joining you. But what's your solution for your quarterback situation to you?
Funny you should ask. I have two. I've postulated this to message boards in the past. We got to do one or two things. Mm-hmm. In the draft, if one of the following young men are not available to us, or maybe just one, Kenny Pickett. If he's not available to us in the first one, which he may not be because we're picking 20th, we should draft some linemen. We do one or two things. Trade out the pick and delay in the first round, pick up an additional second rounder or a third round, because those first round picks, we all know are very, very valuable. So we got to get a good haul for them. And not for next year, but this year's draft, right?
Yeah.
So we either draft the lineman or trade back, accumulate additional picks, and draft additional linemen. Our offensive line sucks. They couldn't block the three of us. We're in our 40s. They couldn't block us. You got a stud running back, a Najee Harris, that in spite of that damn wretched offensive line, he had over 200 rushing yards.
Yeah.
The thing was his per carry average is pretty bad. He was like 3.5 or 6, but he had 1,200 yards rushing. He was the second leading receiver on our team with 75 receptions. Weird, right?
Yeah, that's with that receiving core that they have. I would not have known that. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like.
But I understand though.
It's not like our receiving core sucks. I mean, you still got some talented players. It's just the fact that's the byproduct of a bad offensive line and the age of quarterback who can't throw more than 20 yards because his elbow. That who's your best friend? Your tight end and your running back who can catch the ball out of the backfield. Yeah. So that was Najee Harris this year. So in spite of the bad offensive line, he had over 200 rushing yards. I think it's pretty damn impressive. So I figured no matter who you get at quarterback, whether it's Pickett, whether it's the second or third round, you get Desmond Ridder to sit behind. That'll be your nightmare, Dre. That'll be your worst nightmare. To sit behind Mason Rudolph for a year, or if you think big and if you try to get Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson to entertain those overtures, no matter who you have throwing the rock, he can't do much on his back throwing the rock. Yeah. You got to fix the offensive line.
Unless his name is Joe Burrow. Then he can get sacked 9 times and still win an AFC playoff game. Yes, he can. Yes, he can.
That was something else that was talked about today. I every time I talk football on here, I somehow make this about Washington, right? It was brought up that 91 team only allowed 7 sacks the entire season. The entire season. Joe Burrow got sacked 9 times and won.
One game, son. One game.
Are you kidding me? And that's one of the things, man. I've always hated that phrase, defense wins championships. No, a great defense is great to have, but it would be also nice if you can win on the other aspects of the ball, especially 2 out of 3. If you can somehow win 2 out of 3 in special teams, offense and defense, you're going to win the game. But if you just have a great defense, ask the Green Bay Packers that only allowed 6 points.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ask
Bye-bye Aaron Rodgers. Yep.
Yes.
Man, hell, ask the Tennessee Titans, who only allowed one of the hottest offenses in the NFL and sacked the quarterback 9 times, only allowed 19 points, and still took an L.
And still took an L.
Yeah, at home. Yeah.
Where was the Kansas City Chiefs defense? Hell,
Where was the Buffalo Bills defense?
where was the Buffalo Bills defense? Where was
Buffalo's
the
supposed to be really
Rams
good on defense. Statistically,
Exactly. Yo, speaking of, right? So statistically, the Bills were first in total yards allowed, passing yards allowed, and points allowed. They gave up 227 yards per game during the regular season. They gave up 198 during the last minute and overtime of that game against the Chiefs. They allowed 160 something in the air. They allowed 188 in the last minute and overtime. They gave up 17 points per. They gave up 16 points in the last minute and overtime of that game. Are you kidding me? But yet defense wins championships, right?
You know what, man? I just can't believe I saw up and down Buffalo's got this. I can't believe Buffalo. That was this close. We were this close to having 4 road teams sweeping the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever happened. 4 road teams sweeping the playoff weekend.
I don't think it has either.
But the thing is, we also got
one squib kick away on a kickoff.
Yes. Why the hell would you kick the ball in the air and not burn clock?
I have no idea. Like
that just
even if
boggles
you burn
my
3
mind.
seconds, right? I mean, come on, man, just burn something. Like kick it to a dude who, like, yeah, that dude, he can't really catch. I'm kicking it right to him.
Well, I never understood it, but anyway, the point is that all 4 games they're in a walk-offs.
Yeah,
that's
all
amazing.
4 games were walk-offs.
We're not going to see that again, yo. I don't think we're ever going to see that again. All 4 divisional round games, 12 games in the NFL, mind you, all ended in walk-offs.
Crazy.
Every last one of them ended in walk-offs.
The dopest, like, so everything was great with the Kansas City and Buffalo game. Loved it. Watched it. It was awesome. Watched the other 2 games. But you talk about having a brass pair, our kicker, rookie kicker, 22 years old.
Yeah.
Before he came into the season, had never in his career kicked a game-winning field goal ever. Not high school, not at Florida, in college.
Mm-hmm.
He has already set for this season. He has set the career record for the Bengals for most 50-yard kicks in the season. First most made 50-yard kicks in a career.
Wow.
This year, as a rookie.
As a rookie, that's insane.
As a rookie. He then proceeds to, hey, how long is that field goal? 52 yards. This dude is standing on the sideline, takes a couple of warm-up kicks, leans back, looks over to our backup quarterback and was like, well, looks like we're going to the AFC Championship, and walks out and kicks a 52-yard field goal. Like, let's go home, boys.
I heard that. He just said
That's
that.
what he said.
Wow.
Dude,
on the field.
Out of his, straight up out of his mouth was like, well, guess we about to go to the AFC Championship. Walks right out. Boom. Game.
And this is why when people laugh when teams draft kickers any round that is not the 7th, and they do stuff like that.
I'm like, this ain't fantasy football, man, where you're like, oh, you make fun of the first person to take a kicker, ha, ha, ha. Nah, dog. If you got somebody who can be a difference maker, who you genuinely believe can turn your team around, like, he's already won 3 or 4 games this year.
That's correct.
Yeah.
He just won the first road playoff game in the history of the franchise. He's already set the career record for most 50-yard field goals. Again, I just want to be very clear about this. In a career.
In
his rookie year. So don't tell me spending a 5th round pick on that kid wasn't valuable.
Yeah.
What I just say, all 3 phases. All 3 phases. And,
win 2 out of 3.
And that's exactly what the Bengals wanted at. They didn't look too great offensively.
Correct.
But the defense played well enough to keep you under 17.
Yep.
And you had a field goal kicker do what he did.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this, man. Dre, I was wondering the look on your face and the other, because we all have frat brothers from the area who live elsewhere throughout their game. Britt Johnson, Michael Blanchard, all those cats. They were at the game as well. But I was imagining the looks on their faces, y'all's faces, when Mike Hilton, after he made that sweet play on the goal line, when he jumped up, battled the ball down, got the interception. We all assume he's going to outrun Tannehill. It was only a pick six. Nothing was between him and the end zone but Tannehill on his hip. The rest of it was grass. No one's going to catch him.
That's right.
Then dude just ran and just fell down. I'm like, what is going on here? You let your boy Tannehill catch you like that, but he explained that he was pooped from the play before.
Yes, I was like,
when he saved the touchdown the play before.
Yeah. He actually saved the touchdown.
Yes.
Deontay Foreman ran it 54 yards, and Hilton came from the other side of the field, ran him down, and made the tackle 54 yards down the field. The very next play, he comes on a blitz, bats the ball, catches it, and tries to run. But not knowing that be it I was in the stadium, didn't see replays, didn't know who tackled who. I just know we made a touchdown saving tackle, and now Mike Hilton's intercepted the ball. I was like, for real, dog, you can't outrun Tannehill? Like, seriously? Come on, Mike, what are we doing? But I get it. I appreciate it. I'm cool with it now.
Yeah, he explained on social media. It's like, dude, I'm not that slow. He said, I'm not that slow.
Oh, he was getting clowned. Like,
of course he was getting clowned. Just ran at Tannehill.
People like, you had this pick six. What? So he did have a pick six. But anyway, would have been a pick six, but it turned out, thankfully, he made two saving plays on the same drive.
Yeah.
Yep.
2 saving plays on the same.
And the biggest piece of that was he completely shut down the momentum.
Yeah.
Right. Like Tennessee was moving the ball, just had this big giant run getting into the red zone. We're about to score, and I think it was about to tie the game. Like it just made everything super tight, and it was like, uh-oh. And in one play, it just flipped everything. We didn't go down and score on that, but we stopped them and we flipped field position back the other way. So it was a great play.
So let me ask you this, man. I'll be honest with you. I thought that Buffalo would have been a better matchup for you guys because even though Josh Allen's a stud, he's his franchise QB. He's the real deal. We all know that.
Yeah.
But I think that y'all defense will match up better with Buffalo's. Kansas City is like pick your points. It is what it is. But just Kansas City cannot stop you. So, I don't know if Honey Badger's going to be back next week or not.
He didn't practice today.
He didn't practice, so he may not be back. So that's a huge advantage. You guys are playing with house money at this point. So all the pressures in the world is on Mahomes, that good hair of him. So I'll say this. So let me ask you this: what shot do you give your beloved Bengals at Arrowhead for the AFC Championship game to possibly be your first Super Bowl since the 1988 season?
First of all, I just gotta let that statement sink in. Like, what is happening right now?
Mm-hmm. But
with that being said, I think they have a legitimate puncher's chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're a 7-point underdog by Vegas.
Right.
That's a pretty substantial spread, given that it's a championship game, right?
Correct.
So Vegas doesn't really see that they have a chance to win this game, really. But with that being said, the Bengals offense is explosive. And Kansas City's defense is not great.
Not at all.
And the biggest thing so far for the Bengals has been, as long as they don't shoot themselves in the foot, they can play with and beat anybody.
Right.
Right? I mean, we talked about how great the kicker was, but we were one missed field goal away from beating Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
We beat Kansas City. We dismantled, no offense, we dismantled twice Pittsburgh.
That's what it is.
We dismantled Baltimore once with Lamar Jackson, once without. And we went toe-to-toe with a super potent offense and a great defense in San Francisco. Yeah. So if we don't hurt ourselves, we have the opportunity to compete and play with anybody. It's going to be difficult. That there's no question about that. Like you don't walk into another man's house and make a peanut butter sandwich and not expect to get punched in the face, right? I mean, like you just can't do that.
Right.
But at the same time, one, they're coming in with the confidence of knowing they can beat them because they have.
Mm-hmm.
And two, when you got number 9 as your quarterback, like Mahomes is great. Yeah. Do not get me wrong. I am not demeaning Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is great. But when you got number 9 as your quarterback, it makes everyone on the team feel like you have a shot, right? I mean, it's one of those intangible pieces that you can't quite put your finger on. You can't quite figure out why does it work. But I'm gonna tell you what, Joe Burrow walks into the locker room, Joe Burrow walks out onto that field, and everyone feels like we could win this game. They were down to Kansas City by 14 3 times.
I remember.
14-0, 21-7, 28-14.
Mm-hmm.
And came back and won. His speech to the defense in the second half was, just give me a little bit of help. I promise you I got you. We're coming back. They held them to 3 points. Ain't nobody holding Kansas City to 3 points and a half.
No,
but I believe
it's rare.
But I believe because Joe Burrow is on the other side, if we can just get him the ball back, he's going to get us back in this game. If we could just get him an opportunity, come on, man, we can do this. We can do it. And it just changes the whole mentality of the whole team versus a dude, I like him as a person, not so much as a quarterback, like Andy Dalton, right? You just don't have, like, great guy, but I just, man, I really wish that this would happen.
Right.
Like,
it just might. Oh, it's
you don't feel that same, like, yo, we about to make this happen versus it's this team expects to versus we hope we win. And that's there's a giant difference there. Right. So
I agree.
And to your point, real quick, Dre, that's one of the things that we've learned throughout this past season and actually during the off season last year was that there were players who were willing to come to Cincinnati because they wanted to play alongside Joe Burrow. That's something that I've never heard anybody say in my entire lifetime, that, hey, I want to go play in Cincinnati. I don't care what sport it was. I never heard anybody say, hey, let me go over there to the Queen City by the lake.
Yep.
I'm sorry, by the river, but
yeah. No, you're absolutely right. He is the biggest piece that they have as a free agent magnet, right?
Yeah.
Where cats are like, yo, that dude gives me an opportunity to win a championship. Let's go.
Yeah. It's really interesting how that goes. But I give y'all a good chance. I mean, what the hell, right? I give y'all a good chance at anything because we see in these playoffs, anything can happen, right? I mean, it's like you don't have chalk. I mean, you one side of the bracket, you have a 4 seed at a 2 seed, right? Yeah. Your Bengals and the Chiefs. And the other side of the bracket, you have a 5 and a 4 seed going at it. The Rams are what, a 3?
That's a 4-2. 4-2 for
yeah, they are a 4 seed. Yeah, they are a 4 seed. Yeah, so San Fran's a 7 seed, I think. So yeah, the 7. No, yeah, there was 7 seed, right? San Fran's a 7 seed. Yeah, no, the 6 seed because the Eagles was 7 seed. My bad.
6 seed, yeah.
4
6.
So you got a 6 seed at a 4 seed in the other side.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. So speaking of which, I don't know if y'all realize this as being football historians and fans. We are one round away from a possible 49ers Bengals part 3.
Of course,
Yeah.
I realized
In the
that.
Super Bowl.
Of course. I was like, this, because for me, we have done nothing but exercise demons all year, right? From a Bengals perspective, right? The Bengals can't win in prime time.
Yeah.
The Bengals can't beat the Steelers. The Bengals can't win 3 games in a row. The Bengals can't win a playoff game. The Bengals never in their history have they won a road playoff game. Like all of these things is just like knocking down each one of these, demons that we've had for the past 30 plus years. Why not Cincinnati and San Francisco in the Super Bowl, and let's go get it, right?
Part 3, yep. Why not? Part 3. I mean, it's just, as I was thinking about that the other, I was like, wait a minute. This can't be happening again. We're talking about going back to the future, right? In the 80s, where both Bengals appearances in the Super Bowl came at the hands of the Niners.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be funny because they played this year, but no one thought that we might be seeing
no.
the Super Bowl, no less. But again, we'll see. We're one round away from a possible trilogy that was 30 plus years in the making. So it's wild. It's wild. The NFL season's been wild, period. So it's been cool. It's been cool as hell to watch. It's stability.
Like, I'm not lying to you. I can't believe we're here. I cannot believe we're having a conversation right now. I'm not. I am typically in full-blown mock draft season. Like, where are we looking? Who are we looking at?
Yeah.
What free agents are possible? Who possibly might get tagged, and like all of those off-season thoughts. I would have been well into weeks to months ago, depending on the season, right? You go back last year or 2 years ago, 2-6, 4-12. Like, all right, well, who's the best quarterback available? Well, the Jamar Chase, Penei Sewell debate all over again. Like, I mean, that's what we were talking about at this time, right?
Right.
And to go from that conversation and in one season flip that to we are one game away from playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Is just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
You know who I feel the worst for right now? And it was brought up on our show last night. My boy from my third home, one AJ Green. He leaves Cincinnati to go to the Cardinals with the hopes of potentially making a run there. They make the playoffs, and they're one and done in horrible fashion down in Arizona, only for the Bengals to look like world beaters right now. Dude, I feel bad for him. I really do. But
so, I'm torn on that piece of things. AJ Green is one of the best wide receivers in the history of the Bengals, right?
Mm-hmm.
AJ Green quit.
I can see that.
Just like Carson Palmer quit.
AJ Green quit.
Yeah.
And that's something in a Midwest city, hardworking, doing like all of those things. Like, that's something that just doesn't sit well in this community.
No. Carson Palmer.
He will always be beloved for what he did, for the franchise and how great of a wide receiver he was. But that greatness will always be slightly tainted by the fact that you quit, man. Yeah. You can leave. Yeah. You can leave. You quit.
Right.
And there's a difference.
Just like Carson Palmer.
And maybe that's karma for that, though.
Carson Palmer can't come back here.
Oh, wow.
Because of that. He wanted out. He quit. He retired.
Yeah, he wanted out. Yeah.
So said, I will retire. Yeah. I will not play football anymore before I come back and play for you.
Yeah.
You know what? It's karma for that.
Yeah. So it is what it is. So now,
I mean, I feel bad. I feel bad because I like AJ Green the person.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I loved AJ Green the football player. I just didn't like the fact that he quit, and so you kind of get what you get.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the result.
I just like rooting for him because he's from a small town that I used to live in for a couple of years, and I'm very familiar with that city. And of course, like I said, it's a small country town. Try to root for them cats. But yeah, if you quit like that, yeah, I don't know if I could, I most definitely can't support that.
Which is why it'd be Chad Johnson, not AJ Green, going to the Ring of Honor, because say what you want about Chad Johnson, he never quit on y'all.
Say what you want. That Bama ain't never quit.
Nope. So he's still loved here. Wildly.
Even when you tell him to quit. Even when you try to tell him to quit.
Correct.
Chad Johnson.
Correct.
He's still loved here because of that. Wildly loved here to this day because of that. Let's move to baseball right quick, since Cincinnati has a great connection to baseball. Y'all saw what happened with the Baseball Hall of Fame votes. Yeah, look, I don't have a problem with David Ortiz himself getting in. I think it's well deserved. He has the stats to prove it. I'm not going to take the time to read him because it's lengthy. He's like, he has what the hell I read it? Because I have it up just in case. He had like where is it? He's a 10-time All-Star. He's a World Series MVP, 7-time Silver Slugger Award, right? All that. Great with the media, great media personality. He's awesome on MLB on Fox, right? He's a cool dude who could play. Mind you, he was a face of the steroid era, but last I checked, steroids will help you put the bat on the baseball. Either have it or you don't. They won't help your hand-eye coordination. It won't help you driving RBIs. It won't help you strike out hitters. You either have that skill or you don't. So I say all that to say this. Well, I'm happy that David Ortiz got it on the first try. A lot of people didn't see it happening a few years ago. Right. I still have a problem with him being in before Barry Bonds.
I agree.
I have a huge problem with that. Now I have a bigger problem with Barry Bonds not qualifying, having enough of the votes to be on the ballot going forward. You have to have at least 75% of the ballots, because the Baseball Writers Association, those schools vote. So if you have 75% of the writers have you on the ballots, after a certain amount of time, you're gonzos. So now, this was his last year eligibility, as well as I extrapolated to Roger Clemens, another guy who should have been in the Hall of Fame years before now.
Yep.
So you have go ahead.
Curt Schilling.
As much as I despise him and his politics.
Yes.
He has no business not being in the Hall of Fame. You saw what he did in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Those records still stand. He did that for two
Let's be very clear.
The freaking Diamondbacks and the Red Sox with the bloody
Let's
Sox.
be very clear. There's some very bad people who are in the Hall of Fame already.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Most definitely. Right.
The Hall of Fame is a museum,
right,
which tells the story of baseball.
Right.
How you can have a museum that tells the story of baseball without including guys like Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, and Curt Schilling is just ridiculous.
It's wrong.
It is ridiculous.
It's flat out wrong.
Don't get me wrong. If I see Curt Schilling, I'm most definitely taking him out Lex Luger style and put them in a torture rack. Most definitely. There is nowhere in the world you can, within my lifetime, insult and threaten to kill a black president like that. There's nowhere in the world I can allow that to happen and not run up on you on site.
Right.
But what that dude did on the field,
you can't deny it.
There are some very, very,
very bad people.
Like, go back and look at who Ty Cobb was. Go back and look at who Ty Cobb was.
Thank you. Right? Kirby Puckett beat his wife.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Like, it's not about this morality clause may be the biggest bunch of cockamamie bullshit that I've ever seen in my life. Because it allows petty writers to get in their feelings and decide, I'm not gonna put them in.
Here's the thing, guys.
There ain't nothing you can do to make me do it.
You know what's fucked up too? You could go back a few years ago. Remember Ken Griffey Jr.? Should have been 100% unanimous.
Oh, most definitely.
Some motherfucker did not put him on the ballot just because.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You got jerks like
what is that?
Who else? Cal Ripken most definitely wasn't 100%.
He wasn't 100% either.
Yeah,
I think Mariano Rivera was. I think Mariano was. They got it right with Mariano Rivera.
Yeah, he was one of the few that ever were. And there's multiple guys that should have been 100%.
Yes, dude. Yes. When
just because you want to say I want to be the one to make sure that he doesn't get in at 100%. You're a jerk.
I mean, what the fuck? I mean, it's like pledging all over again. You know, you gotta have them going. You just said no one can go in at 100%. Who the hell thought that it's a good idea to not have KFG appear unanimous on every ballot? Who thought of that?
Right.
Who came up with that idea?
Yeah, dumb.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. And it's the same people who's been voting on this shit, right? So again, David Ortiz is in. Great.
Yes.
No problem with that whatsoever.
None.
I would have had a bigger problem if he wasn't in.
Yep.
Okay. But the fact that he was allowed in as a man who's one of his names, one of the names who was linked on the Mitchell report.
Yep.
You let his ass in, but you didn't let Barry Bonds in, didn't let Roger Clemens in, you keeping Coach Sterling out, and guess who else was on the ballot for the first time who got left out? Alex Rodriguez. Well, he got 36% of the vote.
Alex ain't never getting it.
That's ridiculous.
Well, see, you know what? And I'll ask this question of you guys in a little bit, right? But of course, number one, Big Papi is more likable than, of course, the guys that we've named,
and
right?
That's the thing. That's the thing.
And you have things like Papa Fritas, Canatas, and that have just covered the stench of steroids on David Ortiz. Unlike the aforementioned guys that we just talked about.
Yeah.
But the thing that I have to ask, as it pertains to A-Rod, is: do you believe that whatever Barry Bonds' highest vote percentage number that he's ever obtained while being capable of getting into the Hall of Fame, do you ever think that A-Rod's numbers will ever eclipse it? I don't know if he ever gets in, but do you think that his percentage number will ever be higher than whatever Barry Bonds' highest number is?
Here's the thing. The thing that he's
at 32, 34,
31%, I think.
Right now, yeah, 30 something right now, yeah.
32, 31%, yeah. So here's the thing, man. One thing that A-Rod does have going for him, he's on TV.
Yeah.
He's a public figure now. He like David Ortiz. They're both on MLB on Fox. They both do a great job. Actually, hearing Rodriguez call a game, he's like a clinic. He does a great job. So props to him about that.
He's a Tony Romo of
yeah, and it's interesting that you bring that up though, Dre, because from what I'm hearing, that ESPN is looking to do a baseball version of what they've done with the Manning brothers, and they're going to have A-Rod be the lead for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, okay, with A-Rod being who he's been so far.
He works for ESPN and Fox. He works for both.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
Kind of being a face of baseball for those two networks. And then let's be clear, with him being in the public eye in pop culture with your girl J-Lo, there might be some cleaning. Now, it'll be like cleaning up red Kool-Aid on a tan carpet. It's an attempt to clean it up, but that stain is still there, and you can never say that spot is clean. So I don't know if he ever gets in, but I think that number rises. I don't know if he ever. I'm just wondering if that number
how high
surpasses what Barry Bonds.
Highest
What was it, in
got
the 60s?
60s, in the 60s. That's how high he's gotten. This time, ironically, was the highest he's gotten.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was 61, 62%, I think. Something like that. Maybe higher than that. But I just think that, as much say what you want about A-Rod, is his arrogance as a player, how it's received in his own clubhouse, particularly with my Yankees.
Derek Jeter.
With Derek Jeter, of course, that dynamic. But if he has let's just say he has a better shot. Okay. Because he's like ahead of Bonds. Bonds, let's just be real, guys. People hated him, and he hated him back and didn't care.
Yes.
100%. And that's what's biting him in the ass. It shouldn't be the case. Remember, they did the same thing with Jim Rice.
Yeah.
Because
they did the same thing to they did the same thing to Terrell Owens.
They did the same thing to T.O. They did the same thing to Art.
Same thing.
It's
stupid. T.O. should have been the first ballot Hall of Famer. That's even more stupid to me, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Come on. Again, it's because you have petty ass writers doing the voting.
Right.
And because you didn't do my interview, because you were always gruff and harsh and rough and whatever. Like the one thing that I can hold over you is you will not get in. Either you won't get in at all, or it's going to take you multiple years to get in because I'm petty.
Yeah. The final validation of a superstar.
Yeah.
Final validation, Hall of Fame, regardless of sport.
Yes.
You know, we see it in more than baseball and football. So I mean, it just is what it is, man. It's petty, it's childish as hell, it's stupid. I mean, they should be embarrassed. The Baseball Association should be embarrassed. You mean to tell me you can get away with telling the story of baseball without mentioning Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens?
See, and it's funny that you bring that up, and I kind of hinted at it before we started the show.
Yeah.
We most definitely talked about this yesterday with Sleazy Sports. Shout out to Sweet Lou. It's not necessarily the solution, but it's actually what's going on right now, right? You know, you walk into the hall, of course, you will see the story of Major League Baseball being told with Barry Bonds included. The home run, the record-setting ball is there, and of course, other memorabilia dealing with Barry Bonds is in the Hall of Fame right now. The thing is, he ain't in that room.
Right.
Yep.
The plaque ain't back there.
Right.
And so the story is being told with him. It's just unfortunate that his plaque ain't back there.
But
go ahead, Dre.
It's not that his story is being told, because his story is not being told. It's baseball's story that's being told. It is, hey, this happened in baseball. And so here's the baseball that represents what happened. We're leaving Barry Bonds out of it.
Yeah,
but
gotcha.
Here's baseball. Oh, here's a bat that hit this ball that did whatever, but you don't need to know anything about the dude.
And that's the thing, right? For generations to come after, if they can continue to keep little kids and interested in this sport, because we already see where the dynamic of that is going, or has been going for some time right now.
Right.
A little child's going to be smart enough to come into the Hall of Fame and be like, hey, this guy is here, 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 and here. Why isn't he good enough to be back there?
Yeah.
And that's the reason why he's not in there. But that guy is, and that guy is.
Yep.
Are you kidding me?
Yep. So I always conclude whenever we get to this time of the year, I think, Andre, this is your first time doing this Baseball Hall of Fame thing, this announcement. They enshrine him obviously every, July, some shit like that, in Cooperstown, which is still high on my sports bucket list. But I will say it now, just like I was saying during the enshrinement ceremony. Stop bullshit to the Hall of Fame, to the writers, to the commissioner. And I think, Dre, you know where I'm going when I said the commissioner. Stop bullshitting around, get off your high horse, let Pete Rose in.
That too.
Let Pete Rose in. It's a goddamn shame. Do you think it's a shame that Barry Bonds is now in the Hall of Fame before David Ortiz? It's a goddamn shame that the hit king is now in the Hall of Fame.
Again, to me, it goes back to telling the story.
Yeah.
It's a museum.
Yeah.
There has been one person who has hit more baseballs than anyone else who has ever played the game.
Yes.
Ever.
Ever.
Do you know how many thousands of people have played Major League Baseball? And there is one dude who has hit more balls than any of these jokers.
Not only that, he helped keep the sport alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
If not for that home run race of 99, where would baseball be right now?
I don't understand. You can't. Pete Rose, Barry Bonds, Kurt Schilling.
Yeah.
Roger Clemens.
You're just leaving out chunks of the story, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going in and watching Lord of the Rings and being like, yo, weren't there some hobbits in this story? Nah, we left them out, son. Here's the ring one of them wore, though. See, here's the right here. Here's the ring. Frodo, I'm sorry. One of the hobbits wore this ring. We're not talking about Frodo. Like,
Right.
I mean,
but even worse with the Pete Rose aspect of it is how baseball has currently embraced gambling now.
Yes.
This
Yes.
it's
Dude.
not even in.
Dude.
That's what we're going to
Yes.
do. Okay, cool.
Stop
All right,
being
baseball.
so-
All right, MLB.
Stop being so goddamn sanctimonious and phony and hypocritical and just let these stars. Come on. You really gonna tell me that's what my son, I took my son to the I said this on camera earlier, took him to the Cincinnati Reds Museum, has all this stuff there. So my son who's just learning to get into sports asked me, he's like, Daddy, why do they not allow the man with the most hits in the Hall of Fame? If you would have asked that question,
from
What'd I
the
say?
mouths of babes.
he is a preteen. He's 12 years old, just trying to get into sports. That's one of the first questions he asked me, straight up. And how could I answer that? I just told him the best way possible, so they kept an eye over gambling.
Son,
And he was like,
look up the
that's
definition.
stupid. He said that was stupid. I'm like, yes, it is stupid. I'm not a Reds fan. I think that's stupid. So
I only got
anyway.
2 words for that, fellas.
Come
Come
on,
on,
son.
Come on, son.
What you talking about? Get those lips to the side.
Come on, son.
So yeah, so again, I'll be saying it. I said it tonight. I'll say it in July dinner Shriver ceremony on a video, wherever the hell. Let Pete stop bullshitting. Let Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame saying it for the past how many years. But anyway, we'll close the show on this. We get to the HBCU Sports segment, right quick. Before Duane blessed us with knowledge. We will mean to ask you, I know we ran out of time last time you're on. You a Morehouse man. You see what's going on with HBCU football as far as the interest, as far as more kids considering, like Coach Prime at Jackson State flipping not 1 but 2 high prospects. And it's funny because when he flipped that kid from Florida State, his alma mater,
Sure.
he said that that's the best interception he made in his career. I still think that's great. That he was the number 1 player at the time. Then they bumped it down to number 2 when he flipped the Jackson State. That's talk about petty, right? But anyway.
No, right?
We live in a world of petty, son.
It's a petty podcast. The surgeon
That's
is
right.
pettiness.
It's a petty podcast.
Yeah, but he flipped this wide receiver from Georgia, I want to say, because he saw, I forget what the name, Kelvin something. I think his name is Kelvin. But anyway, the young man saw Travis Hunter flip from Florida State to Jackson State. He wanted to come, that caused him to, hey, what's Jackson State going here? Coach Prime? Everyone knows who Coach Prime is.
Right.
Of course.
Yep.
As much as other schools try to emulate that, like, for example, Grambling hired Hugh Jackson. Great hire.
Yes.
He ain't Deion Sanders.
No.
Tennessee State with Eddie George, they had a good season last year. They improved over the season. He ain't Deion Sanders. And word on the street is that I think I want to say, Duane, shoot this down. Am I wrong? Because you're close to this. Southern considered, I think it was Southern, considered Ed Reed.
It was Grambling that was
It
considered.
was Grambling. Okay, Grambling.
Yeah. So
Ed
you know
Reed.
the players like Ed Reed's things was tossed around.
I think Marshall Faulk's name was tossed around,
Marshall
right?
Faulk's name has been tossed around. Oddly enough, we're talking about former football players, and it's ironic that we still got Dre here for this because this is going to be a name that sounds very familiar. Sam Shade is now the head coach at Miles College Division II HBCU.
No way.
Alabama.
Seriously?
Seriously, yes. It was announced earlier today. So Sam Shade will be the new head coach, replacing Ruffin down there at Miles College. So congratulations to him making that move from the high school ranks into the collegiate ranks. So yeah, this has been, of course, conversation about players who will be interested. Jerry Rice's name. Jerry Rice has even thrown his name out there as wanting to come out and help out in HBCU. More than likely, of course, is Jackson State. But that's what the word on the street is, and I kind of find that ironic that he won't even help out his own alma mater, or maybe they told him no. I don't know, but either way, I digress. I don't even want to get started on Jerry Rice.
That's even bigger. Want to join Prime staff?
And it's bigger, but I just find it to be laughable that he won't even go to his own school, but he'll go to the rival in the same state, just because he wants a piece. But it's just been phenomenal what Deion Sanders has been capable of doing, and very petty, right? This is another situational petty, right? It's been wonderful what Deion Sanders has been capable of doing in the past year of his tenure there at Jackson State. The wideout that you're referring to, his name is Kevin Coleman.
Kevin, okay, not Kevin. Kevin,
yeah, Kevin. No, it's Kevin.
Oh, it's Kevin.
So
okay, it was Kevin. Okay.
It is Kevin. Yeah, so he's been doing a wonderful job recruiting, and we kind of teased this last week on what the big news was going to be from Hugh Jackson. There's been basically a lot of commits. And then, of course, they made the announcement of what Grambling's schedule is going to be for 2022. So it was a lot better than what I originally heard it was, because I was ready to clown him until I looked right before the show started and say, oh, they actually have some commits. And some of them are big, are guys who were looking to go elsewhere within the SWAC that are transfers from Power 5 institutions that are now going to Grambling because of Hugh Jackson. So that's what his announcement was. So yes, it's great that this is going on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just waiting to see whether or not it pays dividends on the field and how competitive they're going to be outside of the conference. I'm going to let Dre answer the question because I want to come back to that a little bit later on too.
Yeah.
I forgot. What was the question?
So basically,
I was just taking in information like, wow.
Okay. So basically, long story short,
back at the Bengals is now at Mons College. What is happening?
So long story short, bro, like seeing HBCU interest percolating from these kids, from these blue chippers. The question was, we talked about like 2 weeks ago, because I said we talked about again last week. Again, like how sustainable is this? Now, being that Coach Prime, Power 5 schools are going to be called, right? Particularly Florida State. If Mike Norvell shits the bed at Florida State again in Tallahassee, I know he's signed a couple-year extension. It's very possible because one of his quarterbacks he recruited last year is transfer. So yeah, it may be gnarly for him. So Florida State's going to come to Coach Prime's door, right? That's home. Even though those fans were stupid when they burned his jersey. How the hell are you going to burn a jersey that you bought at Vintage Jersey? Well, how the hell are you going to burn it? Why are you burning money like that?
I would never understand that.
That's just stupid.
That's first world problems right there. That's what that is.
Well, that's stupid first world problems. That's where they should burn money. But anyway, the point is, if Coach Prime ever wants to go there, whatever. I don't think he needs the money. I don't, hell, he's underpaid right now at Jackson State. He doesn't need the money. I think he wants to bring more light and shine to the HBCUs. He just loves coaching. He enjoys being connected with kids.
Oh, and he wants to win. Yes.
And of course he wants to win, obviously. And he's winning right now. But not being the MEAC in the Sunshine Bush Bowl, that's not here nor there. But the fact of the matter is that Dre, do you see more blue chippers, 4 or 5 star kids considering HBCUs, and would it be in huge droves or would it be like incremental, as in Rome was built in a day kind of thing? Because I think it's going to take time.
So yeah, I believe it'll take time, but I think what will really come down to is how committed are these big name or bigger name coaches to staying, right?
You brought that up
because Duane, I'm coming to play for Prime.
Right.
How long is Prime going to be there? If Prime is there for another year, 2 years, and then jumps to a Power 5, now, no offense to Grambling and or Jackson State and or Tennessee State, like no offense to any of these schools, do I want to stay there when I know that I had offers from Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State and Florida? And not only that, the coach who recruited me isn't even here anymore. Who's coming in the door behind Prime that's going to be better than Prime? Right. And so to me, it's gonna take long-term commitments from these big name player coaches to really have there be some movement. So right now it's a novel, right? You got Eddie George, you got Hugh Jackson, you got Prime, you got a handful of people who have seemingly taken interest into building what HBCUs can be, from a football perspective. And the African American community has long since talked about, hey, why are we allowing our best athletes or encouraging our best athletes to go to these, majority white schools and making money off of them instead of leaving that back in our own community and having the best players and athletes and have the money funnel this way.
Right.
The problem has always been, like, what's the attraction to an HBU from a top level athlete standpoint, right? Most of the time, there's not a ton of money there. Most of the time, the facilities are terrible if existent, right? You're going to play at, again, I went to an HBCU, so I can say this, like, you're going to play at some pretty dumpy stadiums, across the board. Like, why am I doing that when I can go, hell, even Nippert is newly renovated and looks gorgeous.
It's gorgeous,
right?
bro.
I mean, it's freaking
UC
gorgeous.
Stadium is gorgeous now. Yeah.
So, like, I can go to UC and play in a great stadium with fantastic facilities, and they're building a bubble, like all those things, right? So, again, I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit, but basically my overarching point is, how long will those top names stay, and really how committed are they to building those programs and building that culture and building something that's sustainable? Because kids come and go all the time.
Right.
You need to be that constant. I mean, look at Luke Fickell at Cincinnati, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where coaches come for 3 years, 2 years, and then bail. And then the players kind of shift around, and then, okay, another coach gets here for 3 years and then bails. Luke Fickell's been around, 5-6 years, and it looks and appears that he's going to be on for several more years to come. And now he's genuinely building that program. Is Prime willing to stay at Jackson State for 10 years? Right.
Right.
Is Eddie George willing to stay at Tennessee for 7 years to
Hugh Jackson
really get that program to where it needs to be? Or will Hugh Jackson jump at the first opportunity to be an offensive coordinator again in the NFL, and that whole falls back apart?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but to your point about the facilities, there are certain institutions who have most definitely made some strides with their facilities. All HBCU facilities aren't bad facilities. Prairie View A&M has a wonderful facility. Alabama State has a wonderful facility. There are other programs, Jackson State, North Carolina A&T, who are currently in Florida A&M, who are currently in the process of working what they currently have. So the institutions that are willing to make investments, Texas Southern has a nice football stadium. So the schools who are interested in willing to make investments into their programs are doing so. It's, again, like I've discussed many times on this show, it's about the sustainability and what the alums are capable of doing if they're willing to do their part to make sure that these institutions are capable to compete. Because, of course, let's be real, of the only schools that can compete with a Power 5 program is another Power 5 program. Right.
We're not expecting
now,
that. Right.
Yeah, right. But so our thing is, we're going to want our programs to at least compete with the other programs that are at least on the FCS level. So you're talking about your Sam Houston States. You're talking about
North Dakota State.
Most definitely North Dakota State.
Yeah.
You're talking about JMU, who was capable of making a leap upward. You're talking about Liberty, who is capable of making that move upward to the FBS as well. So you're looking to see Campbell, who has a brand new facility in the state of North Carolina.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. You want to compete with them. And of course, they're getting the money from the organizations and from their alums to make sure that they're at that point. We're going to have to go ahead and make sure that our alums get interested and become boosters that they need to become in order for them to continue to not just keep the talent that's currently there, but to continue to draw the great talent that we hope to have come in under these coaches that we currently have. So that's where that comes in.
Let's put it this way, fellas. This is not a slight. This is just stating facts. If Boise State were to complete that goal and complete the journey from FCS to where they're now in the Mountain West, if you have freaking Coastal Carolina, who hasn't been around for a hot minute, go from FCS to where they're at in the Sun Belt and dominate, ball out. Same with Appalachian State, near where I grew up. Make the same jump from FCS to the Sun Belt and ball the hell out.
Kennesaw State that's had a program that's resurgent in the past 2 years.
Then if we look at them, why the hell we can't do that in the SWAC or in the MEAC? Why can't we do that?
So some of this goes to, and I don't want to get uber philosophical all that, but like some of this goes just back to America and generational wealth, right?
Yeah.
We as African American people don't have a ton of generational wealth. Whereas you're
many reasons.
Right. I mean, like we're not the Kraft families of the world.
No.
We're not, the Fords. We're not, all folks like
DuPonts.
Rockefellers.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not those folks. Those folks went to, Ohio State. Those folks went to,
Ivy Leagues,
Penn State, Ivy League schools, Stanford, all of those places. And that's where there's a ton of money that gets pumped into those places. And even a place like Liberty is still a majority white school. And so therefore, like, they have that money.
Flush with cash. They're flush with cash.
That's like Jerry Falwell money, most definitely.
Yes. And so that's the biggest issue is, and I didn't mean to shit on HBCUs and the facilities that they have. There are schools that have those facilities. Not all do. Every Power 5 school has fantastic. Every Power 5 school has fantastic. And that was more my point. Yes, you do have some who have great facilities. You also have some that really don't.
Yeah.
Power 5 schools, everybody has great facilities.
Yeah.
So part of it, again, is just from an American culture standpoint, we're not coming with the same amount of wealth to help build all of these programs across the board.
Right.
True, right? And that's where it has to be a situation where our institutions have to be smarter and not necessarily work harder. When you talk about the generational wealth that we lack, then that means, just like Liberty, who, of course, yes, they get a ton of money from Jerry Falwell, but there have been a ton of organizations that was willing to donate money to Liberty University for them to have that windfall of cash for them to be capable of what they're doing. Yep. And that's all across the board. And for that university to be the way that it's sprawling through Lynchburg, the way that it is insane. So yeah, you got to be smart and get these corporations who are willing to give money to HBCU to do so. And that's the thing. You got to find the ones that are willing to do so and make it so that these companies are willing to make that investment in our athletics programs. That's another thing that has to be done too.
Well said. Well said. So Dre, I'm calling you Dre. Duane, do you have any more news HBCUs to bless us with? You've been on, you were sprinkling stuff in here and there with coaching hires and whatnot, which obviously we didn't know, but what else do you have to share with us?
Sam Shade.
Freaking Shade.
That was my response too, right? I'm like, Sam Shade. Wow. We got another one. So, that's why I always say when people's reaction is we need to hire football players to come. One, they've always been former football players that have been HBCU coaches in the past. That is not the problem.
Right.
We got to go in. There's no one on this earth that's the level of Deion Sanders in sports as a whole. It's like a handful. That's like Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, Bo Jackson, and my God, that's probably about it. but I digress. That's another conversation for another time. You're hoping for another You're hoping for another unicorn to walk through the door. That unicorn ain't coming.
Yeah.
News real quick. And then, you know what? I actually have an apology to make, too. So I'll get to that, too. So, number one, the news is, it's of course, even though the smaller ones have been happening in previous weeks, the Tropical Bowl, which, of course, is another one of the collegiate bowl games where guys come out to work out in front of coaches. The same thing with the Spirit of America HBCU Bowl. I don't know if it necessarily happened this past weekend or not, because of the weather in Roanoke, but you had that, and then the Dream Bowl as well. But the more prominent bowl games are coming up starting this weekend with the NFL Players Association Collegiate Bowl, and you got a couple of HBCU players that are going to be participating in that. More prominently, Marquise Bell of Florida A&M, the defensive back that a lot of people have been talking about, Akil Glass from Alabama A&M,
quarterback,
and well, yes, and of course the wide receiver from Sam Houston State, Jaquez Ezzard, who was actually a Howard alum before transferring and winning a national title over there at Sam Houston State, will be participating in this game as well. So I will have the full list of HBCU athletes that will be participating in that game and the other bowl games as well on my social media. And of course, I'm going to write a short article about it too. But the other thing, the more prominent thing that's happening this weekend is, of course, the Reese's Senior Bowl will be having their HBCU Combine this weekend as well. Cool. They have over 40 players that's going to participate. And I actually agree with Deion Sanders, who has actually been an advocate for having an HBCU Combine before in the past, to say, hey, why have the HBCU Combine when you could just go ahead and add those 5 or 6 players per position to go to Indianapolis and work out there, knowing you have guys that end up dropping out of your invitation from the NFL Combine anyway, so they can participate on their own personal pro day. Why not just do that? Duh. But, if we're going to take baby steps, fine. We're going to take these baby steps. So I think the NFL Network will be airing this Combine this weekend. And both of these games, the game and the Combine, I think will be airing on TV. I will make sure to have all that information on social media. And then, of course, you got players from the HBCUs that were participating in the Shrine Bowl and in the Senior Bowl as well. So I'll have that full list of everybody who's going to be participating where and who to keep an eye out for where in all of my outlets. And then, of course, like I said, with Sam Shade, we did talk about the Grambling announcement. So big up to Hugh Jackson for not dropping the ball on that. But since we're talking about Grambling, we're talking about last week.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and first and foremost, this is going to be a backhanded apology. Right?
It's already backhanded with the setup.
Yeah, right. So like Scott has said, and will continue to say, we love our interaction from our viewers and our fans that watch the show. And, occasionally, the both of us, more than likely me, will make a mistake on the show. And I will actually come on and say when I make a mistake, right? Just like last week, I made a mistake where I said that there wasn't a team from the SWAC that has defeated an FCS opponent. And I said it twice, wrongfully so. But I'll get to that in a moment. But the thing is, I was wrong for saying that a SWAC team hasn't defeated an FCS opponent. Because, of course, it has happened in terms of OOC. But again, I'll get to the pettiness in just a moment. My point was, and if you continue to listen to the statement, this is out to the gentleman who actually corrected me. And the only reason why I'm doing this on the show is because he referred to me as a lying nigga. Now, see, had you not come at me like that.
He did. He wrote down the comment.
Several times, right? And it wasn't that I was lying, because if you watch the rest of the segment, I was talking about the SWAC's performance against FCS teams, and I talked about it later. Matter of fact, yes, I said FCS twice, and I even referred to a matchup between Southern and McNeese State, who was an FCS program. Yes, I messed up. I am so sorry. I made a mistake, but I did talk about.
Purge me.
Yes, purge me. Take my title. Take my throne. And we announced my throne in the spot during the times. But if you listen to the rest of the segment, I talked about Jackson State and their loss to Louisiana Monroe, who is an FBS team. Right. And I talked about the FBS teams that the SWAC had not beaten. So yes, I meant to say FBS and I said FCS several times. I made a mistake, but I understand the context. And if you listen again, listen further, the context was FBS. So the guy even came out and talked about how Grambling did beat Northwestern State. Yes, they did, right? In 2017. But Grambling, what have you done for me lately? So much so that you had to go out and get Hugh Jackson because your coach is coaching like trash. Thanks to my A&T State Aggies who thrashed them in the Celebration Bowl, and them Bama's ain't been right ever since. But I digress. So yes, you come on here talking about you come on the page and you berate me, you talk about me. Man, yes, it's about what you say and how you say it. Yes, I was wrong, but come on, son. If you're going to come out here and talk about what Grambling did, talk about some stuff they've done recently and listen to context, please. Yes, I was wrong, but come on, son.
There's also a difference between being wrong and lying.
Yes, right? You lied.
I was just wrong. I was wrong. And then if you want to be a
stickler for context, hell, SWAC teams beat FCS opponents on a weekly basis. Why? Because the SWAC is in the FCS, dummy. The SWAC is in the FCS. So they're beating FCS opponents on a weekly basis when they beat themselves. Do me a favor, SWAC fan. Win a game in the Celebration Bowl that is not against Central because of a penalty, and then we can talk. Please.
Again, the theme of the show, pettiness.
Come on, son.
And speaking of which, one last thing before we close the show. We said this last week, Andre, talking about Hugh Jackson's big announcement. We was like making fun of thinking there was going to be a dud. And I was like, man, if we just need one brother at the press conference. If it turned to be a dud to say, nigga, what?
Yo, thankfully, it wasn't a press conference. Everything was handled via social media. All of the tweets came out from all of the players that made their commitments. And then, of course, their schedule was announced on social media as well. So thankfully, they didn't have that because I'm like, okay, wait a minute. The schedule is the only thing that they're announcing? Are you kidding me? But I saw the list of players who made the commitments for over the past few days, dating back to last week. And I'm like, oh, that's what his announcement was. It was the commits. So it was actually a legit announcement that was worth something. And thank God I was ready to line them up and air them out. But yeah, bruh, my God, you just came out a lying ass nigga.
He called you a lying ass nigga. That blew my mind.
and normally I don't want to address people like that because the thing is that's all he wanted. He wanted was a response from me. And Bama, you got one.
Yeah.
You got one.
Yeah.
And even so much so that I even went ahead and was humbling myself and saying that yes, I was wrong.
Yeah.
But Bama, if you listen to the context, I most clearly was talking about FBS programs on here. See, look at me. I stumbled again. I made that mistake. When I stumbled and called FBS.
You're a liar.
FBS. I am a liar.
You're a liar and a felon.
And a felon.
Remember that 911 call with what's the name? The skater, the ice skater. That smacked Nancy Kerrigan across the knee. What was the girl's name?
Tanya Harding.
Yeah, her boyfriend at the time was like, you are lying, and a felon. And I said, come on down, officer.
Arrest me, officers.
That's why I said you were a felon. That's why I put that you were a felon for. That's like Tanya Harding. Anyway, oh my God. I can laugh at the show all night. Let's call it, man. Thank y'all for tuning this podcast. Thank you, Dre, for bringing the heat, the Cincinnati Heat. Much luck to your Bengals this weekend.
Yes.
Appreciate it, boys.
Much luck to your Bengals this weekend, man. And please continue to check us out. I mentioned it earlier. Check out Duane's good stuff, man. Yard HBCU.com. You see in the backdrop right there. HeroSports.com. Sleazy Sports. Come on, son. Sleazy Sports every Tuesday now on Facebook Live. You see the website here, theclowntimes.net. Mention the merch. Please continue to subscribe, share, comment, like, dislike. I don't give a damn. Just do something. I'm petty too. I'll come back at you. I've done that shit before. So anyway, just do whatever you can, man.
Hey, you can be petty. Just be right in your pettiness.
Exactly. That's
on,
right. Okay. Please stay warm. It's cold as hell this weekend. I know the East Coast will get a hell of a lot of snow again. So be cool. Enjoy the sports weekend. We out.